Today we're going to be making our Cornhusk dolls. Before we start, I'm going to read you a story about the Cornhusk doll. Now, this story is from the Haudenosaunee and or the Iroquois, and this is an explanation as to why the Cornhusk doll has no face. A long time ago, there lived a girl who was given the gift of beauty. People in her village would turn their head to see her when she walked by. Everyone would talk about how beautiful she was. The girl realized she was beautiful and spent all her time looking at herself in a pond. In those days, there were no mirrors. When it came time to plant the three sisters, which is corn, beans, and squash, she was nowhere to be found. When the garden needed weeding, she was nowhere to be found. When it was time to prepare the animal hides for clothing and other useful things, she was nowhere to be found. And when it was time to grind corn into meal, guess what? That's right, she was nowhere to be found. When it was time to serve the meals, she was the first one to eat. When it came time to get new clothing, she got the best hides. When it was time to dance and sing at the ceremonies, she was the first in line to start. The people were very unhappy with the way the young woman was behaving. They complained so much that the Creator decided that something had to be done. The Creator came to the young woman one day and said to her, "I gave you the gift of beauty, and you misused it. I will have to punish you." The Creator reached out and took her face and hid it. That is why the Cornhusk doll has no face, to remind us that no one is better than anyone else, and that we must always cooperate with one another. It's a very good story. When I think about how lazy she was, where she was nowhere to be found, I think about the little red hen, that tale about the red hen who worked, and then all the other characters didn't help her, but they were there when she was ready with bread. All the other characters were there to eat the bread, but nobody ever wanted to help her actually get the work done. So that was an Iroquois tale. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started with our Cornhusk doll. Now, to start, you're going to need a bowl or some kind of a tray, and you're going to need to put water in it. You're going to have to take your corn husks and set them in the water. You're going to let those get soft in the water. At first, they might be really crunchy. Don't bend them. Just lay the first half in like this, and then after time goes by, once that side is soft, then you can flip it and put the other side in so that both sides get soft. You want to be able to kind of really bend these down. So you want to make sure that they're very soft before you start working or before you start building your Cornhusk doll. I would say let them sit at least 10 minutes. So you can press pause on this video, and then you can make sure that your corn husks are in water, getting soaked so that you can use them. Also notice that before we get started, I went ahead and I covered my work area with paper towel. I'm in a classroom and I don't want to get water on the floor. I don't want to get water on the table because later I'll end up putting paper in it, my work papers. And I don't want that to happen. So I put some paper towels down. If you have a towel, you can put a towel down. An old t-shirt, you can put that down. You're going to need something down below you because we're going to be working with wet corn husk, and it might get a little messy. The other thing you're going to need from your bag besides your corn husk is your twine. Looks like this. It is the light brown thread that kind of looks like it has little hairs coming out of it. That's the twine. Okay. Don't use your black and turquoise thread because we're going to use that for something else. That's an entirely different project. So what you need is your brown string or twine, and you're going to need your corn husk, and that is it. Oh, you might need scissors. So if you have scissors, go ahead and grab scissors. That's gonna be what you use to kind of clean up the strings once they're too long. So go ahead and soak your corn husk, and then press pause, and then join me back again once your corn husk is soft. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started so that you can see what the next steps are. So I went ahead and I soaked my corn husk, and I'm going to make sure that I kind of shook the water off of them. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 6 pieces of corn husk. How many? 6 pieces of corn husks. So let's see, I have 1, 2. Let me shake these off so I don't get water everywhere. 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you have different size corn husks, that's okay. Try to get the ones that are all kind of the smaller ones, the ones that aren't as wide. So if you can find the ones that are shorter in distance from this point to this point, those are going to be the good ones to use. So you're going to take 6 corn husks. And let's see. And we're actually going to take them with the small part here at the top. The small part of the corn husk is going to go at the top. And I'm going to kind of lay them all like this, like overlapping. Kind of so that they're all at the same length. Your hands might not be as big as mine, so just do your best. And then I'm going to roll them like this in a bunch. Okay? So now I did this. I'm going to pat that down at the tip. So I have 6 corn husks that I kind of just put together. They don't have to be overlapping. Just put them together. And I'm going to take a piece of my twine. Okay, I'm going to take my twine. 1 piece. Thank you very much, twine. And I'm going to tie about 1 inch down from the top. Okay, 1 inch to 1.5 inch down from the top. So you're going to take your twine. Let's see if you can see this. You're going to take your twine, and you're going to just tie it. You're going to tie all those together 1 inch from the top. So you have 6 corn husks that you're tying together 1 inch from the top. Now when you tie it, I want you to pull that tight, okay? If you soaked your corn husks good, you shouldn't be ripping them, okay? So I went ahead and I tied that tight. I'm going to put another little tie in there just to make sure that a little knot is formed. Good. Now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut the extra stuff off. Okay. Remember, I made 2 knots, so there was 1 big knot, so it wouldn't come undone. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my corn husks. I'm going to hold it like this. Woo, and I'm going to start peeling, almost like a banana, but I'm going to peel like 3 corn husks to each side. So I have 1, 2. Let me put these 3 on this side. Okay. Now I'm kind of flipping them like up and over. So I'm flipping them kind of like I peeled a banana, right? And I'm going to imagine 3 on each side. 3 like banana peels or sides on each side. So now I have it like this. See how I have 3 here? I'm going to make sure there's no creases, that it's all straight. And now I'm going to flip it down and make sure that I'm going to make what looks like a bulb or a head. So I'm making the head of the Cornhusk doll first. So I went ahead and I peeled that down. Does it look rounded? Okay, it's as good as mine's going to get. Some of you guys might have done a much better job than I did. So mine looks like this. Okay, so remember, underneath here is the knot, and then here is the top part. This is going to be the head. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece of twine. Come here, twine. Another piece of twine. And I'm going to tie this around the top again, about 1 inch from the top, so that I can make the head. Now remember, you're going to tie it tight because you want to make sure that it looks like your doll has a neck. If you don't tie it tight, it's going to look like that, and your doll won't have a neck, but maybe it has a really thick neck. So I'm going to tie this tight to make a head for the doll, and I'm doing this about 1.5 inches or 1 inch from the end. So see that? Good. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and tie this again so that it's a knot and so it doesn't go anywhere later. Stuck there. Good. So now my Cornhusk doll has a neck. Be really careful what you're doing with your Cornhusk doll because you don't want to rip its head. Okay. So now it looks like I have a head and then I have this body part, but I'm not done with the body. I'm going to make some arms. So I'm going to take another, because you've only used 3 pieces of corn husk. I'm going to take another piece of corn husk and I'm going to roll it lengthwise. So length is the long way. So I'm going to roll it long ways like this. Okay, so I'm going to keep rolling and rolling it. And you might want to do this on the table just so it's easier for you. You're going to roll that piece of corn husk nice and small rolls so that it's really tight. Okay. And I learned this, but like, see how I'm rolling this even, but there's all this extra part? I'm going to cut that off. I'm just going to take scissors and I'm going to cut that off. You don't have to cut it off. It's still going to come out great. But I'm going to try cutting this part off, just that extra part that's not even. So now I'm going to roll that, roll that, roll that. Roll that, roll that, roll that, roll that, roll that, roll that. Okay. Now I have what looks like a straw. Okay. I'm going to actually tie one end. So get another piece of your twine and we're going to tie one end. So I have this straw and I'm going to take it from maybe about 1 inch from the end again. And I'm going to tie it. And what I'm making is I'm making the wrists. So this is going to be, these are going to be the arms for the Cornhusk doll. And I'm making the wrists for the Cornhusk doll. Okay. So see how I made that and I tied it a little tighter there? Now I'm going to do the same on the other side. Actually, let me do this. After you've done this, we're going to take our doll and we're going to find 3 pieces of corn husk that are right next to each other. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. And I'm going to separate them. And then I'm going to take my doll's arm and I'm going to put it underneath, like between each of those 3, like this. Okay. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to tie, this is kind of a long arm, so I'm going to go and I'm going to tie my other twine a little bit closer because I don't really want my Cornhusk doll to have huge Stretch Armstrong arms. So I'm going to go ahead and find a spot where I think the other wrist should go. I'm going to tie my twine there. Twine there. T-W-I-N-E. Tie it tight. Another knot for security. So 2 knots. Okay. Now look at this part. I can actually cut that extra part off because I already tied it. Good. Now my Cornhusk doll. And if it's not even, the arms aren't even, you can kind of push this back and forth like this, okay, until you find a good spot. Okay, I'm going to push that up. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the waist for this Cornhusk doll. Everybody has a waist. Men and women both have waists. So this could be a man Cornhusk doll or a woman Cornhusk doll. So I'm going to get another piece of twine. And down here, I'm going to find a spot for the waist, or where the stomach would be, or the belt line. And I'm going to tie twine where the waist would be. And I'm going to tie once. And then I'm going to put another knot in. Tie it really loose and you have a little bit of a thicker Cornhusk doll. Tie it really tight, you have a really, really skinny Cornhusk doll. Either one's fine. We're all going to make different Cornhusk dolls. So mine looks like this now. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to form the shoulders. So you see how these shoulders are really skinny? I want my Cornhusk doll to have shoulders. So I'm going to use 2 corn husks to form the doll's shoulders. So I'm going to take 2 corn husks, 2 more. So I'm going to get them out of my bucket there. trying to find two that are kind of the same size. Okay, I'm going to get two corn husks, and I'm going to take them. You see how they're like this with the fat part at the top? I'm going to take them and I'm going to make one go one way and the other go the opposite way so that I kind of make a rectangle with those two triangles. See how I did that? Okay, now I can actually take this and I'm going to fold it in half. So it looks like this. And then you can actually, if you wanted to, you could fold it in half again so it's a little bit skinnier. But if halfway is already skinny, you don't have to do it again. Now I'm going to take this part and I'm going to wrap it around my Cornhusk doll's shoulders. Oh, this part came undone, so I have to do it a little bit tighter. So I'm going to wrap this around my Cornhusk doll's shoulders like this. Okay. Okay. And then I actually like a little bit wider. Let me try that again. Let me see. I can take these again, put the two triangles like this. I'm going to fold it once because I want my doll to have big shoulders. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to put one part along the back here, diagonal. Then I'm going to fold it over to the front like this, kind of like a shawl or like a scarf that's just over your shoulder and across your body. Okay, so I did that. Now I'm going to do the same for the other side. So I can hold that there. You can actually set it down. It's going to come up a little bit. That's fine. I'm going to grab two more pieces of corn husk. Boop, 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 fishing for corn husk. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing where I lay them so that I make a rectangle out of two triangles. Okay. I'm going to fold those in half. Now, if I fold the other one only one time, then this side I also want to fold only one time. So they're the same. Now I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to lay this, like there's a big X on their chest, or it almost looks like wings if you fold it back this way. So, and then I'm going to hold this like this. These two shoulder straps are crisscross, and then I'm going to fold it over to the front. Now, I don't know about you, but I have some twine in the way, so I'm going to cut some of that twine off right now. You can wait, or if you already cut the extra twine off, that's fine. I didn't realize it was going to get in my way right now. Okay, so I went ahead and I cut that twine off. And now, so I cut all the like extra twine that I'm not using, and I left kind of just a little bit, okay? See how all that extra twine was cut off? Now I'm going to take this other shoulder strap and I'm going to fold it over again. Okay. So this is what my doll looks like. Okay. I'm going to actually take these skinny parts here and I'm going to tie them down with another piece of twine. So I'm going to take my twine and put it around the doll's waist again. And I'm going to tie that down. Nice and tight. I'm going to make another little knot so it's secure. That means safe and tight. Okay, so now your doll should look like this. I'm going to cut off the extra twine. Okay, now it looks like this. Now, for the Iroquois, you might actually want to cut this here. For the Iroquois, they would sometimes make different dolls depending on if they wanted it to be a man or a woman. You can cut the extra parts. If you want to get fancy and cut it a different way instead of straight, you could definitely do that. But kind of like if you give yourself a haircut, which I hope you don't because you're not old enough to give yourself a haircut, but you know, always leave extra and don't try to go really short at first. Leave it long and then see how you like it. And then if you like it that way, then you can change it. So I went ahead and I'm going to stretch out these corn husks without tearing them so that I have an actual doll. And this is what my doll is going to look like. Okay, so I have two sides. And remember, my doll doesn't have a face because the Iroquois, they had the tail of the faceless doll. Can you remember why she was faceless? Yeah, she was faceless because she realized she was beautiful, and she spent all her time looking at herself in the pond. So her creator punished her by taking her face. So this is the Cornhusk doll that's after the girl who had her face removed or taken. Let's see. What you can do is put this somewhere safe to let it dry. Another thing you can do is if you wanted to make another part of the bottom, like if you had more corn husks, you can take a piece and you can actually wrap it this way underneath here. So you slide it underneath there, and you could wrap it underneath like that, just to create another layer. I'm really curious to see how yours is going to come out. So if you had, so you could do that to create another layer and tie that down. You could somehow create hair, because you didn't say her hair was taken away. But if you know how to make hair, or you can tie that even down, you can make some hair, and then cut that hair if you wanted it cut a certain way. You know, do different things. I really like to see what you guys do with your Cornhusk doll. When you're done, please take pictures and post them on our class stream. I really do want to see what you guys did. If you have any questions, remember you can check in here with me between 1 and 4, Monday through Thursday, and I can help you put this together if you got stuck. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry, and when it dries, this is another one that I made up here. So see that one up there? When it dries, I went ahead and I hung that one up. It's really cool. And actually, you could design it on your own and do extra things to it if you wanted to. Okay, thank you for watching. I'm going to put the instructions up too, so if you get stuck and you want to go at your own pace, you can definitely do that on your own pace. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.